So welcome everyone to this yet another amazing Vishwa Manthan session. हमने जैसे आपको कहा था, हमारी कोशिश हमेशा ये रहती है कि कोई एक ऐसा खास मेहमान, कोई व्यक्ति ऐसा लाया जाए जिनसे हम ना ही सीखे और उनसे कुछ ना कुछ हमको नया सीखने में मिले, बट वो हमें कुछ ऐसी उनसे ऐसे रूबरू हो कि एक अलग राब्ता उनसे बन पाए। आज हम बहुत खुशनसीब है कि हमारे साथ है गिरीश चितड़े जी. He is with us today. Now let me introduce Girish ji to you in a slightly different way. So let me start by saying that the name Chitade is a mere coincidence. उनका ये, so let me give you a few quick updates about him. He is a trustee for Bhilwadi Shikshan Sanstha. He is the vice president of, can you guess, Maharashtra Chess Association. He is the director for Rotary in Sangli. He's been doing an amazing work for them. This is a gentleman who completed his basic education from Bhiwadi and then he did from Sangli. He did his B from the Maharashtra Institute of Technology, MET, and then his MBA from the SP Jain, the owner management program. He's also a chairman of NAFARI, National Agriculture and Food Analysis Institute. Girish ji, this is something which is so amazing that you're doing, because we from China have always been saying that institutes like NAFARI are something which our country needs. चाइना में ऐसी हर एक टेक्नोलॉजी के पीछे उनकी एक इंस्टीट्यूट है जो रिसर्च करती है, जो फॉरेन टेक्नोलॉजी को एम्बाइब करती है, and the fact that you are the chairperson of such an institute makes us even more proud of you. And of course, after doing all of this, he just coincidentally happens to be the director of Chitade Agro Products. Girish ji, welcome here. मैंने जैसे आपसे अभी बताया कि this is a close-knit group of truly a Vishwa Manthan. We are people from all over the world. These are people who are high achievers themselves. और चाइना से कहीं ना कहीं ये जो सबकी नाड़ एक दूसरे के साथ जुड़ी है, वो आज भी इतने सालों बाद बरकरार है. And it is only getting stronger with having friends like you joining in now. With that, I will hand it over to my dear friend Pradyumna to ask you these questions. आपसे रूबरू होंगे. Thank you so much, Girish ji, कि आपने कहा कि question answer ही रखिएगा, and let any question come to us, come to me, and I'll be more than happy to answer. We really appreciate that. That aspect from you, from your side. One couple of things to our friends. आपको अगर और भी कोई सवाल है तो please उनको chat box में डालिए. We will of course try to accommodate those questions. Our dear friend Subodh is going to be doing a good summary of this and sharing with all of us. And then I will at the end request Nanduji to give a vote of thanks. So without further ado, over to you, Pradyumna.
Thank you, Amit. Giriji, as Amit said, we are truly fortunate and privileged to have you together with us. As soon as we announced that we are going to have this session with you, we were also excited, and all our friends are so excited. We got a lot of questions, and we tried to organize them into several topics that we would like to discuss with you. But as Amit also mentioned in the introduction, the name Chitade Bandhu is just not a company, it's not just a business, it's an institution. And that name has, for a number of years now, invoked trust amongst the consumers, not only in Pune, not only in Maharashtra, but globally now. And one of the questions that we got was, what are some of the conscious steps? What are the measures that you've taken to create that trust, to create that strong bond with the customers around the world? Can you share your thoughts on that?
I'm thankful to Vishwa Manthan and you people sitting in Shanghai, Amit, Pradyumna, and all of you, your team, for giving me a chance to interact with a global Indian community or global diaspora, and sharing what we are all together. It's not, it's kind of all India to put together. So it's not about whether one brand is there or not. I'm very much thankful, and I'm happy to share few of the things that I know better. So to give the answer to your first question, it's not philosophical, though the reference is from the philosophy and Puranas. But as said in Bhagavad Gita by Lord Krishna, you have to do the work and don't go for the fruit of that work. So karmanye vadikaraste mam phaleshu kadachana was a thoughtful thought given to us as an Indian culture, and that has lot of meanings. So when my grandfather started this in 1939, he just said that you just do it, what naturally it comes. The success is yours if you are doing it passionately, if you are doing it जो बोलते हैं प्रामाणिकता से करेंगे, सत्य से करेंगे, फैक्ट से करेंगे, and if you are ethically enough, then success is yours. You don't have to run behind the success. Success will come to you, and definitely that is what we are trying to do. So he used to say, because I have heard him, I have that privilege to live with him for 21 years of my life, and he used to say to his sons, my uncle and my father, that whenever you think of adding water and diluting the milk for your economics in dairy business, you stop that business and do something else, but not this. So this one single sentence has given two kind of things to me. That is, you don't stop to do the business. But if you are not able to sustain the business with ethics, you stop that business, search for something other. Definitely, it has to be ethical enough. So these things are there, which has been taught by our grandfather, by our uncle, by my father, everybody, my elder brothers. So it has been there for last 4 generations. So that is what I can think of, as a reason that we are what we are right now.
Giriji, that's a very great point that you make. I think ethics are truly the foundation of any business, especially in the food business, where people trust themselves and their children. Ethics are truly the foundation of this. We had a very interesting question from many of our friends. From saying "Amchi kuthei shakha nahi," we have no branches. Now Chitreya products are globally available. Right, they are present, available globally in different parts of the world. How did you plan this expansion? How did you plan this journey? And what is the future roadmap for Chitreya Bandhu to be globally available? Because there are lovers of your products all over the world.
Again, it is not a sarcastic answer to this question, but I will take a liberty to do it though. Please don't mind that answer and the language of it. What happens is, my grandfather started the business in Mumbai, and with some shortfalls because of some partnership issues with other partners out of our family, he moved in Pune. He started his business in Pune. And at that juncture...
त्याला म्हणा दुसरं झूम अकाउंट वापरतो
समीर
yeah.
Sorry, I'm audible?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So
yes, Giriji, now Samir, can you mute everyone else?
Sorry, yeah.
At that time, he was joined by his 2 eldest sons in Pune for marketing ourselves. So it was kind of a humble start in Pune because we had to do it on our own. And again, the so-called target group that we right now say as a target group for our consumers was restricted to our own community, Marathi community, Brahmin community, and typical Pune community. They were not, enough going out of their own dens, so far to say. So we used to say generally Marathi people don't go out They don't even cross the states. So like our consumers, like we were. So we were like, restricted ourselves to one branch, one consumer type, and one consumer group. So as our consumer group expanded beyond our geographical territories, beyond our regional territories, so not only that, we had started to attract non-Maharashtrian population. Maharashtrian population itself, like you people, have gone out so many places. But it was natural for us to not remain in one branch and restrict ourselves to one place. So the brand is geologically associated to Pune and Sangli per se. We are now everywhere with you.
बहुत खूब.
But that was wonderful. I think two gems that we got from this conversation was about targeting the customers. We all study in marketing, the segmentation, targeting and positioning is so important. I think that was really cool. And also follow your customer globally, right? Wherever your customer goes, you go with them. I think that's how many companies actually start and then they go become global. So wonderful, Girishi. You were very humble when you said that we moved with our customers and customers took us everywhere. We have some of our friends who have joined, as Amit said, from all over the world. We have some friends from Singapore, and they have a question very interesting, and they insisted that we ask you this question, that we do get the products in Singapore, they are available, but not always at a good price. There is a premium on those products. How can we help as the Indian community there, as the Marathi community there, to make the products, Chitaiya products, available in Singapore?
Singapore as well as globally, what we try to be as a consistent in product delivery is based on two parameters mainly: quality and taste. So we don't compromise on the quality and taste parameters when we are doing product delivery. That doesn't mean it has to be costly, but cost is one thing where we have restrictions about our own production capacities, our own product grouping as such. So generally what we were doing till now, say last 4 or 5 years, we were developing fresh products, over-the-counter products to be sold, or mostly refrigerated products. So all these products, like dairy products, like Shrikhand is there, so paneer is there, cheese is there, which is low shelf life as well as requires a refrigeration and cost. Being low shelf life, it has to be exported via air. Then the cost is there. So few products which are shipped by ships or boats or by marine, they are a little cheaper. But again, generally the mindset is rupee is cheaper than the dollar. So always dollar is costlier and the cost is there. But we are trying to find out the solution for it. Probably next question can be to make it cheaper. Can you manufacture it in some places which can be cheaper? But that is little late. You have to wait for something. Nowadays the thing is people are coming to India, so we are going out. So it's one plus sign that we probably have to think of to make it a little cheaper or locally available, locally cheaper, you can say, affordable. So that is different thing, and that we are thinking upon. But for that, we are now standardizing the products to make it or adapt it to the mechanization or mechanized or automated product productions. So that is going on. So once that is there, probably we may come up with a few facilities outside state of Maharashtra, then probably outside country as well. But sorry that we are not able to supply you at affordable cost at your countries.
I'm sure, Giriji, there the question of price was very secondary. I think it was much more of the availability. I think the price was
Yeah, I know.
people actually having to go to India and get the product. I think that's what makes it expensive. I think it's
but
availability
now
which
it will
is
change. Now it will
people
change.
are.
Now it will change the product.
That is so wonderful, and Giriji, I can. Sorry, go ahead, please.
No, that is going to change. A lot of products like burfis and pedas and laddus, those will be packed in MAP, and they are already packed in MAP with higher shelf life. So even Amba burfi kind of thing. So they can come to you very easily outside Maharashtra, outside India, and you will be happy to know that within 3-4 months it will be amply available.
Wow.
Fantastic. That's amazing. And Giriji, I can assure you on this behalf of the group that we have, as Amit mentioned, we have people from several countries here, from US, from Europe, from Southeast Asia, China. We are there to support in any which way. If you are wanting to find some connect here, to make sure that the products are available with the vendors here in our own countries. So that is something that we promise, because that in the end helps us to make sure that we are able to get the great Chitaiya products here in our own countries.
I am thankful, and I will be taking that advantage. I am thankful, and I will be taking that advantage.
Thank you, sir. I think it will be our pleasure. You touched upon a very important point on mechanization and automation, Giriji. And I think that is something which you mentioned is a key to expand the product availability and produce the product anywhere. How did you, it's a very traditional business, right? The dairy or mithai is a very traditional business. How did you envisage that we should invest into automation, into technology? When did you do this, and how did that journey start?
See, our consumer has forced everything to do for them. This is what I can say, because see, the demand is there, and if you are not able to supply enough, marketing principle says that if demand is 100, you have to at least supply 80 and not 100 or 110. So you keep the balance between supply and demand. But what about it goes below 80? So you have to find it a way. We can say there is a huge queue. On Monday, you are not going to get the bakarwadi and some products. On festive season, you are not going to get few of the other mithais or other products. That can be a good thing to, have the brand equity go up. But there is a point of time when you have to think of, cash in that brand equity, which has been deferred because of the supply and demand. So for that instance, any Western or even China or somewhere Southeast Asia, their traditional products, when the product supply demand was increasing, what they have done is they have adopted newer technologies to make it faster, make it standardized, consistent in quality and taste, and more flexible enough to cater the demand. So unless and until you invest in your own things, you're not going to get that product delivered to the consumer. Consumer, at the end of the day, will have to have the food, whether it is for his or her need or leisure or pleasure. They will have the food. If the traditional cultural food is not available, they will go for some other cultural products which are available. So it is our duty, who are manufacturing it or branding it, to go for that consumer, to make sure that our Indian traditions are also getting noticed, which are highly at upper places because of the taste, flavor, nutritional consistency, and all other these things, attributes to it. So definitely Indian food or Indian mithais per se are not only sweet savories, they are nutritious as well. So I always, rather our all group members, always used to think, if a laddu or laddu is taken, it's a good sweet savory. But if you compare to some chocolates or some cookies, it is definitely more nutritious than those. So why we should not be inculcating habits of having those products, and unless and until we manufacture it in large scale, we cannot do it. So everybody has done the good job in converting their traditional products into the industrialized production. So we have to do it, and that's where the inspiration came, and that's what we did.
Girishji, I think Pradyumna is facing some problems. Pradyumna, you're back.
Yes, I'm there. So, Giriji, I think you touched upon availability as a key thing as well. Some of our colleagues are from B2B background. Some of them manage large supply chains. And they had a very interesting question as to what is the supply chain management or demand planning model that you use, that products are generally available even during the peak times, even during high demand times, and everywhere. Increasingly, as you are expanding globally, how do you make sure that you're able to forecast, predict, and plan for it?
Unfortunately, it is a gray area still now, but it still works on the human intelligence than artificial intelligence. But ultimately, the artificial intelligence is the tool that human has to use. So it is more important how you develop the intelligence. First and foremost, what we are trying to do is, right now we are digitizing our supply chain completely. So we are now able to predict or see what are the stock levels at the retail shops, what are the stock levels at distributor shops, what is the moment trend, and also we are believing in stakeholders' intelligence. So each stakeholder in the supply chain, like we ourselves as a manufacturer or brand owners, our trading partners, super stockists, logistics partners, largely first delivery goes to any super stockist or distributor is directly by our own logistic department. So we have kind of hands-on grip on logistics there. But from that point onwards to the retailer or to the consumer, it is definitely a duty of those distributors and super stockists who are thankfully very passionate about doing those things, and their intelligence, not only experience is one part of that intelligence, even the emotional quotient of them contributes much more to our supply chain management and help us to develop sort of semi-automated intelligence in our system. Definitely what we are targeting is all that intelligence has to be there. Has to be more human intelligence than artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence or machine learning should be only used for the things to be done speedily or quantitatively. So it can have the impact of disruption kind of thing. So you make a worldwide trend analysis, you make a geographical trend analysis. It is very easy if you are digitized, but behind that it has to be human intelligence who has to drive it, because ultimately it is a human who is going to consume that product using that service. So unless and until you know the pulse of the human nature, the machine learning and artificial intelligence is have that limitation. So it has to be synchronized. So we are definitely digitizing it, trying to put salt and pepper kind of artificial intelligence into it, and then make a recipe of our own to handle the supply chain.
Giriji, that was really a great answer, because we all see that the machine learning is a great tool for us to not replace the human experience or human intelligence, but to enrich it. And I think I think that was a wonderful answer. We're all very privileged to get a sneak peek into the automation that you have in the dairy with the video that you shared with the group. one of the very interesting questions which came was that are you considering any plans to create a walking gallery or a viewers gallery so that consumers can actually visit the Chitrai plant or the dairy farm, actually get to see how the production is done, and it can even have an attached store or restaurant where people can taste those products. And that's very increasingly common with other food product manufacturers, and people would be, I'm sure, queuing up to visit such a facility.
In fact, in dairy, which was built around new dairy campus that you have seen into the video, that was constructed in 2003-4. So at that time, the largest section was milk packaging. So we had a viewing gallery over there. And then we have the viewing gallery for our farm automation. So we are targeting two people. One is our consumer to see how we are preparing the product and how we are managing the things. And we used to show the short film of 4-5 minutes into other production areas wherein it is not possible to go or take the end consumer over there every time. And then again to see at what level of automation and hard work that farmer has to do when he supplies the milk to the dairy and dairy processes it and brands it to give it to the consumer. So people generally don't know how much hard work it has put in to bring that milk to you in 3 stages, like farmer and producing it, we processing it, and our distributors delivering it to those states of the consumer. So all that hard work we try to show while the processing gallery as well as at the farm gallery. And definitely we are renovating it and we are adopting that thing when probably the next video that you must have seen is about how we are taking care of this COVID post-lockdown phenomena, about our street factory, Chitrai Bundu factory, where the Bakarwadi is made. So there is a viewing gallery over there which encompasses almost 70% of the production view. So probably I will share that view as well, because 1 week back my nephew has also gone live with that standing in that viewing gallery. So we are in fact encouraging students, various consumers, groups to visit and see what we are doing. It is more not for the marketing, but to understand how a good Indian product can be manufactured in a mechanized way, but still we remain with the same taste, same flavor as probably I will not dare to compare the mother's taste or wife's taste for that matter, but as good as homely taste. So we are taking care of that. And second part of it is the restaurants and food, live food counters. Right now, we were a typical traditional method of selling over the counter. Now we are also thinking of live counters, but again, that has to take a seat back for few months or years probably, because of this marathon race of COVID and Corona and lockdown and social distancing. But definitely, once we overcome that situation, probably we definitely are going to have that live counter systems, and live experience for that matter will be continued.
That is fantastic, and I personally did not know that viewing gallery exists. I'm sure a lot of our friends on the call did not know. So it would be truly a pleasure. It would be a great opportunity for all of us to actually next time where we are in Pune to visit Sangli actually to visit the facilities, and as soon as the live counters open, I think that would be a tremendous opportunity, Giriji. Giriji, you mentioned about the consistency in the taste, because and you gave the Mother Nature as an example. I mean, Chitre's products are also known. I think one of the brand promises that consistent quality for a number of years, and across anywhere you taste those products, it tastes the same goodness, the same uh, great feeling of nutrition and taste you get. How do you manage that consistency? How do you do this over a number of years?
You know, it's kind of daily routine for us to do those things every day, every night. So kind of probably I saying it may sound a little arrogant, but what we try to do is retaining the consumer perception of being their preferred brand is what we try to do. So it's more of a in positive way, a good perception about our product and taste. That has to be more consistent than the taste itself. That doesn't mean the taste is going soaring down or something like that, but it is kept as it is. But it's only the thing is a perception, as you said, it's the experience. We at a marketing communications always say to our all stakeholders, people around us, whether it is our sales force, whether it is our distributors and retailers and consumers or super stockists who take our products as a brand to end consumers' mouth to taste them and have that great feeling that we are not selling a Pakharvadi or milk or Shrikand per se. Everybody can sell it and everybody can do it. But what we are doing is we are giving that experience through our products. So it's more of a service than product. So unless and until you see that delivery of product, it's not a product, it's a product delivery. That's why I emphasize that we are consistent in product delivery in terms of quality and taste. So we try to deliver as the perception moves on, we try to move on with that perception. So that is the kind of effort that we are doing. Otherwise, we are sticking to what our grandfather, uncles, and father has given as an instruction or guideline to us, that you have to be purely ethical in your own business. That doesn't mean you don't have to make the profits, and you can also make a little more profit by having more and more ethical practices and loyal to your consumers, rather than expecting consumers to be loyal to you.
Absolutely. So that customer centricity is amazing, and I think that's what translates into that focus on customer experience translates into such wonderful, consistent products. Obviously, we have Girishji, all of us on the call, at least I know, have grown on Chitre products. So we all know Chitre brand, Chitre products so well. We had a couple of very interesting questions about the future. So one was, how do you keep that brand promise relevant for the youngsters, who are more moving towards maybe more Western savories and sweets? How do you keep that? How do you keep them engaged going forward?
Luckily, the Ramayana was one of the hottest and hittest web series in lockdown time all over the world, you can say. So we had that advantage of having higher population, second highest population in the world. So it's your mindset. And again, it was very popular with the younger generation. And that too not only below 15 or 12, but it was like, generation of even 20s and 25s. So today and tomorrow, both were watching Ramayana very furiously than yesterday's and day before yesterday. So probably that is one of the wonderful thing that my grandmother, my mother and my daughter are watching serial of Shivaji on Hotstar every day at 5 o'clock. So that is their lockdown time pass kind of thing. So I'm not afraid of, losing the demand for ethnic products from any country. It's a presentation show. So how you present your product to the consumer is more important. And by saying that, I'm not making me isolated with the current product range or various researches and product developments that are happening. So saying that Western products are there, we also can say the Eastern products are also there. Chinese, Japanese, Thai, Myanmar, those Malaysian, these cuisines are also much popular, like Indians are also much popular. So now people are experiencing all those things. So we also have to think of those things. So, and we are not shying away from this. So we have the paneer, which encompasses North India. We are now into cheese, that is Western now. We are also into the ketchups, jams. And now also we are thinking of having functional foods to cater more of a newer lifestyle of the people. So kind of, changeover from what we are known for. So, and that is very difficult for not only us, but it will be difficult for our consumers as well, because they have to also think of Chitrays in that manner. If you can, I can give quote example of ketchup. Probably right now I can say we manufacture one of the best ketchups, one of the better ketchups around us, because pre-lockdown period we were selling hardly a ketchup, because ketchup in India is like mashup thing. It is like giveaway kind of thing. 3 free for 1, 2 free for 2, 3 free for 2 or whatever.
Right.
So in that we were not standing anywhere, and that too with like Heinz and big MNCs and national Maggi and all these national and international players. So we had that product, but we were not able to cut through the mindset of our own consumers who was loyal to our products for Bakar Ready, Shaker, and so many things. This lockdown, fortunately for us and unfortunately for these people, locked all the transportations from outside Maharashtra to enter into Maharashtra. And because we had the advantage of dairy sector, third week we also started giving our non-dairy products with the dairy, of course with the government permissions, to the people. And now we are thinking of expanding 5 times our capacity of kitchen.
Wow.
People are not associating probably us with those products. That fear comes for us as well as the people who are brand loyal to us. Now that probably ice breaking has done in the lockdown period enough, so that we can take a risk of entering into some other niche. Of course, ketchup cannot be called as a niche per se, but another niche product category or something like that. We are coming out with a few fusion products. I may not like to name all of them, but I can definitely say that we are coming up with the bhed, and experience of eating the bhed will be tremendous to you, and that will be completely a different kind of experience to you. So one of the product is bhed. There are so many other products, so you can wait for some time. Because of this lockdown period and all this, and already we had kind of MAP products like burfis and pedas and all these products to be delivered. We are a little bit holding that project, but now our even fresh counters are going to change into the packed high shelf life products, much of them. So we have to delay these kind of fusion products, but definitely it will come in next 1 year, and you will be happy to know that when it comes.
We will be all eagerly waiting for that, and I think it will be tremendous for us. And I think one thing which I made a note, as well as I'm sure all my friends did, successful companies always find opportunities in the times of challenges. I think you use COVID situation to find a new way to expand your portfolio is just amazing. You mentioned about cheese, and one of our young viewers today is Amit's son Anish, who is probably on the call. He is a wonderful chef, and he experiments a lot with food. And he actually asked when he saw about the short film about the dairy, that are you also looking at expanding the cheese portfolio and make it more international, because India has such rich milk culture, but we don't have enough cheese culture today, but that's evolving. Flavored cheeses, for example.
Yeah. We are going to have various flavored cheese. We will be also having few yogurts, but that will be kind of Western taste as well as kind of Indian taste as well. So probably we can have a yogurt with Panchamrut flavor, or actually a Panchamrut, which is yogurt. So kind of those things will be there. It can be complete a Western product, it can be a fusion product, and it can be a complete Indian traditional product with kind of it is kind of modulated, if not fusion, on the base of like cheeses and paneers and dahi and yogurts. So these dairy products are also evolving, and that will be coming soon. So I can give some challenges to Amit's son, and I can take some challenges from him as well.
He's already challenging our mold, Girishji, by telling me that he doesn't want to become a engineer or a doctor. He wants to become a completely food and beverage person. So he's in your line.
So, we need every role of human society. So even I am an engineer, but I am doing food business. But that is helping me in doing the food business. So definitely, crossover knowledge is definitely going to be useful. And he's welcome.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. I think, as you said, that I think education and profession can complement each other. So being an engineer, I think I'm sure gave you a lot of new insights into how to approach towards that technology domain and bring new technology into the very traditional business as well, traditional plant as well. That is excellent insight. Another question from the young brigade was, but there is a lot of awareness about doing away with plastics. Do you have a conscious effort in Chitez to look at more greener options, glass bottles for milk versus plastic pouches, and so on and so forth?
Once Gandhiji has said that we are having enough for each of us, or abundant for each of us in the nature.
Correct.
But you cannot exploit it for yourselves. It is not possible to have that abundance which can be exploited and then consumed and said that it is available for us. Nature doesn't have that exploited abundance, but definitely it has that abundance. We have two nose, two ears, two eyes, but one mouth. So probably that is sufficiently saying what nature has tried to create a balance. So if we go with that balance, plastic cannot be said as a villain. See, if I am having this dress, it is mostly terracotta. So 70% is a terylene, is a plastic. Hardly 30% is a cotton, which is recycled. So we have to make a balance between the convenience and the nature that we have to preserve. That is number one thing. Again, we also are a part of nature. So our survival is also a balance. So probably that has to be kept in the mind. Third thing is definitely we are conscious about the plastic, use of plastic, but still till now, whatever kind of supply chain we are developing, product life we are expecting, food safety and food security are two issues for humanity, at least for second world and third world countries, wherein food safety also requires, a safe food also requires good packaging and non-permeable packaging, which keeps that food safe. And definitely most of that is plastic. And food security for reason like floods and all these things. You cannot have your product put into the paper bag or something like that. It has to be plastic, which takes it safe to safer distances to reach you across the country, depths and breadths. So that has a good importance in your life. Problem is disposal of what we creating as a waste after we use it. It's a more of a disposal issue than users issue. Probably yes, the less we use, less we have to dispose. But first thing is we have to dispose anyway. So unless and until we find a way to dispose, we cannot say reduce the use alone. Reduce, recycle, reuse has to be there. But again, that balance has to be more of a focused on the disposal than the use, because we don't have sufficient replacement. Glass cannot be a good option if we are weighing as an environment. Only we see plastic as a disposal level, wherein the plastic makes some naughty things when not disposed properly to the nature. But we don't see the cost of having the glass bottle. Glass bottle is heavy. Glass bottle is damaging. A glass bottle is reused, so you have to wash it. The washing of glass bottle takes the detergent, steam, water, and you know what amount of water is required for 1 liter of glass bottle to be washed safely enough to use again. It is more than 4 or 5 liters of water along with some detergents or soda or acid to clean the bottle perfectly and use it for our reuse. Again, glass bottle itself is manufactured at say more than 3000 centigrade temperature. It is having the advantage of recyclability, but again, it is not the last last क्या बोलते पर्याय नहीं है वो. Again, paper is a recycle, but what is environmental cost? What is the environmental damage it has? Again, paper standalone cannot be used for food packaging or any other sustainable packaging to increase their shelf life and transportability. It has to be layered with some plastic, some glues. So it has to have that adhesions, metal foils, everything. So see, our lifestyle, unless and until it becomes to stay behind what we have, we cannot dispose of the use of these things. And unnecessary use of anything has to be avoided first to reduce the cost. And like we can have 1 liter instead of half liter and 200 ml. We can store it in the freeze. But again, the cost of freeze as an environment has to be calculated. But definitely those kind of things, purchase in bulk, so less packaging is required, kind of things can be thought of before, you know, directly saying the plastic is a villain. Plastic has given more boon than it has destroyed anything. Only biggest problem and challenge definitely is waste disposal created out of plastic. And for India, it is not only plastic, any other grain disposal is also an issue. So unless until we have good disposal mechanism, probably this is going to be haunting us. And definitely we are
That's a great
looking
point,
for some
Girish.
solution. definitely we are looking for some environmentally friendly solutions, and we are up to it. But for that matter, we cannot say for sake of saying that plastic is good or bad. We have to accept that fact.
Correct. No, absolutely. I think it needs to be looked in totality, and I think overall environmental impact, not only one part of the value chain, but across the entire value chain, needs to be evaluated. So that was a wonderful point. Giriji, you mentioned right at the beginning. I mean, as we can all see, what looks very simple for us is a very complex business. It's a very there's a lot of strategy, visionary thinking gone into it. And this journey started, as you mentioned, in 1939. This is the fourth generation of Chitays taking this forward. Many of us on the call are entrepreneurs or leaders who are so involved and concerned and focused on succession planning. And one question we had was, how in Chitays you have been doing such amazing job of succession planning over the generations?
Our consumer has not given us a luxury of spending time so much leisurely that we start to have the egos, and because of that free time. So I am again thankful to our consumers who are pushing us to do more, and we at owner level are hardly unemployed, and that is kind of successful succession so far. But saying that, what we are also doing is our fourth generation is also now well educated, focused, in the sense that they have done food technology courses as well, some management courses as well. They have studied abroad at graduation level, post-graduation level. They have worked abroad where they are not known as what they are, but they are known by their own capacities and prove their own capacities over there, whether they have worked in India or work in abroad. So a lot of people are doing that. Our fourth generation is doing more of a research and product development focus, market development focus, connecting to new generation. They are doing it. And what our grandfather, uncle, father, our elder brother, our younger brother have been doing and passing on to next generation is, my previous generation is still faster than me. So it's kind of supply chain. If succession, if you can, it came to me right now. So it's not that mature thought, but I'm taking that liberty to put it forward. If you have a vehicle line to make the vehicle, manufacture the vehicle, and do the line production, the fastest one is the last. As you go ahead, the next belt is more faster than the previous. So as to bridge the gap between the slower one, because you cannot have everything loaded and come to you, and the second belt has stopped. So you just think of hand holding has to be one step further. In succession, what happens is the last man coming in the business is the first man who has to deliver something. So we can afford to have the youngest person slower, and we cannot afford to have the eldest person slow. So the eldest one has to be a little faster than the younger one. Unless until that happens, the supply is broken and you have that disruption in the manufacturing or production. Fortunately, what happened to our kind of succession chain is our previous generations are faster than us, and we try to be faster than our young people, so that whatever they produce, we can sufficiently carry on all across the management level. So right now, up till now, we are happily or successfully tried indirectly or directly have done it so far and think of doing in future as well. So that I can say. I don't know.
That's an amazing philosophy and amazing view to take. The manager or the leader has to be faster to make sure that he is able to take the team and as you said, the successors along and make sure that that succession works. So Amit, we are pretty much towards the end of the hour. I think we have some interesting questions.
We do
Giriji,
have.
if it's okay, we might, yeah. If it's okay, Giriji, can we take another 10 minutes or so for Amit to go through the questions that we have online now through the chat, and then we can, before we conclude the session. So
I have
probably
taken
another
extra
10 to
time.
15 minutes.
I have taken extra time from my wife because we are celebrating her birthday, but I have taken extra time from her, so we can go.
आप अपने सीईओ का बर्थडे छोड़ के हमारे साथ है, गिरीश जी, बहुत बड़ी बात है.
She is faster than this, so she has given the permission.
Excellent. I was listening to this wonderful conversation, Girish ji. मेरे वालिद साहब, my father used to love शकील बदायूनी, और उनकी एक बहुत प्यारी उनका शेर है कि उठा जो मीना बदस्त साकी, रही ना कोई ख्वाहिश बाकी, हर एक महकश पुकार उठा इधर से पहले. तुम्ही आज तो असा अमृताचा चषक घेऊन आमच्याकडे येत होता आणि मला लोकांचे चेहरे इथे दिसत होते की प्रत्येक जण तो अमृताचा कण असा घ्यायला उत्सुक होता. So thank you so much for this wonderful journey that you have taken us through. Quickly, I'll ask you a few questions. These are coming and these are lovely questions. I was also wondering, there's one question which says that we see people in the food industry diversifying, and what this person is trying to say is that we can see that they are going from traditional products to even sometimes junk products, burgers, pizzas, probably these. Have you any plans also to move away from traditional products, or would you like to stick with traditional products?
I think we, in a way, answered the question 2-3 questions back. And to be specific on it, it's more of a consumer-centric approach that we have to follow when we diversify. So it's just not a me too product kind of thing, or just cannot be, I have to be in that rat race and come or produce something. Definitely, my one of the earlier marketing consultant to whom I have learned from very much as a marketing, because I was working with him when I started with my family business and given the portfolio of doing the marketing job, moving out of Pune kind of thing. So he used to say, what competitor you have, competitor has, you must have that thing also. And you also have to have what they don't have. So your portfolio should be ever expanding, so to even out the competition. Given that is can be a one way of thinking of it, but that doesn't say that me too kind of thing. So somebody is doing the burger, I will do the burger. Somebody is doing vada pav, then I will do vada pav burger kind of thing. What our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, what our opportunities are, what our threats are, the SWOT analysis, PDCA cycles, these are the basic things of management that can be taken from the Western philosophy, but definitely more are there in Indian philosophy. They don't say it as a management, but they definitely say it's a way of life. So we can learn from our own cultural givings, whatever our religion is, whether it is Hindus or Muslims or Isais or Indian Isais, I'm saying, or Jains or Sikhs or whoever, Buddhists. They have been nurtured with the culture of living in India. We as a culturally have developed one thing more in common with all the Asian countries, that we live with the nature. We use the nature and let the nature use us to evolve. Rather than Western philosophy of living by fighting with the nature.
Okay.
In the Western, probably where more northern areas, where snows are there, ice cold temperatures are there, going below -0, sub-zero for almost 6 months, where there are, only 4 hours are daytime, 20 hours are night time, and sometimes reverse. These extraordinary situations, fortunately, are not there in most of the Asian countries, and morely so in Indian subcontinent. That has given India a huge advantage in developing its culture by living with the nature. So I'm little bit drifting your question, answering the question, because half of the question has been answered previously.
Correct. Absolutely.
Until we find some good kind of innovation in going things naturally, we should not go for just sake of doing those things. That is what I want to say. So it is more important for us to adopt any new product is to just see what natural demand can be for that product.
Correct.
And
Correct.
then we can go for anything. And I'm not restricting even myself to the traditional products. I'm not restricting only for the Western product, and I'm not restricting it to making it fusion product or modulated product. So with the lifestyle change, you have to change presentation of the product, and we also have to see what best our product has given to change, make the change easier. So we will be doing both.
Very nice. This is the fact that you also added philosophy is really, I think it broadens out the answer beautifully well. Girish ji, खूप चांगलं. एक खूप छान प्रश्न आलाय की there is a I think plethora, glut of copycat products that have emerged in the market due to your success. Has it ever concerned you, or how do you look at these copycats?
See, every good technology, every good product, every good service will be having competition as it becomes successful. So it is for everybody, that is the challenge. So being successful is little easy. Keeping yourself successful is very difficult. Yeah. Second thing is being at the top is easy. Remaining at the top is very, very difficult.
Absolutely.
So we fortunately don't fight for remaining at the top. We always fight for growing. And again, that growth is modulated by consumer loyalty than anything else. So that makes things more easy by saying that we alone cannot sufficiently cater to whole humanity, and we alone cannot grow if there is no competition for our product and service and delivery. So if we want to grow, if there is no competition, we have to create one.
Correct.
Sorry.
Absolutely. No, very well said, Giriji. Giriji, the next, and we will just get a few more questions. I know you are running out of time and you have an very important day today of your life.
I have 10-15 minutes time. So.
Perfect. Our good friend from Tokyo is asking this question, और आप समझ सकते हैं ये सवाल उनका क्यों है और इस तरह से क्यों आ रहा है. He says that companies like Haldiram have expanded gradually into frozen food products like aloo paratha, samosas, and so on. This is a large market, especially for NRIs. Do you have plans to expand the current product line and expand in this business in future?
Again, it is connected to the answers given so far. Definitely, we see the chance, but it will take little time. So I'm little disappointing you, but definitely we are going to have it as we are confident enough to serve you better. Until that time, they are serving you good, and they will be continued to probably serving it to you along with us when we come.
The next question is very, very interesting because the person who has asked, Giriji, you would probably be very happy to know that he is a first generation entrepreneur, first generation Maharashtrian who in the last 30 years of his life has devoted himself to the business. He started the business and today he has made it into a multi-million-dollar business for him and for a lot of people. He asked this question, any further plans of going public in the near future? And I can understand why he's asking you that question. Because he wants your advice, probably.
Up till now, we are kind of a family business and typical traditional Indian family business, and that too a Marathi family business. I'm not blaming or underestimating any Marathi entrepreneur here because I'm one of it. So I don't want to make a mistake of underestimating myself. So going public is one way to go forward, and definitely at one point of time we have to think of it. Right now we are not doing it, and we sufficiently have our own money and credit ratings at banks so that we don't require public money, but we definitely require public's interest in our product. So,
yes.
So when public interest grows more and presses more, where our financial conditions are little bit less than that 80-100 formula, then definitely we have to go public and ask people to contribute for their own taste, and we can.
Wonderful, wonderful. You will understand, Giriji, the diversity of this amazing group. The next question comes from a doctor. She is a well-renowned, internationally well-renowned dietitian based out of India, and she actually does online classes. She says, Mr. Chitre, it's great to know that you are venturing into functional foods. Can you please elaborate further on that? So a dietitian is asking because she probably has got very excited.
Thank you, madam. One thing is, right now I'm not going to disclose it because it's under lab trials, and I don't want to disclose it for sake of not dissolving the curiosity of our consumers, and that is one of the most reason that I will not be discussing. But second thing is, what I want to request all the dietitians and all the food technologists to look into is, we always have focused traditional Western products which they have commercialized as functional and diet food. Very few of our us have given importance to our own diet practices, our wholesome meals. Our these Western people have come to India and Indian countries in search of lot of Indian food and cotton, lot of masala products and cotton, lot of chili and all these things from India to import. They have good not only taste impact, but also they work profoundly for maintaining your health. And turmeric milk is one of the recent adaptation of Western people from Indian culture. So these things also have to be propagated, and as I said, our laddus can be, our pohas can be, our khichadis can be more powerful solutions, can be answered than those commercialized product and traditionally converted to commercialized production on the Western countries. I'm not discarding their products and their capacities, but functional food again has to be seen into what target or focus we are doing, and that functionality has to be come from that food that we are going to develop. So we need a lot of help in branding what is functional food in Indian perspective, Indian lifestyle, and Indian nature. I'm not saying Indian nature of people. Nature as such has given advantage for India or elsewhere. And then what is needed for us food. So don't treat food as a medicine, but food as a habit. It's more important to make yourself healthy. One interesting workshop was there, and few students were there, mainly food technologists, and I don't know why it was like, conclave of few engineers and few food technologists put together. I don't remember which college it was. Around 200, 300 people, students. At that time, I said, I'm Chitre, a mithai wala, a high-fat dairy product wala, pitching you, and I'm looking after major of marketing decisions, policies in my group, along with my whole team of owner management as well as sales force. I'm telling you that you eat less mithai, and I'm marketing it. And you may feel like I'm a typical Puneri. I'm not saying it. Typical Puneri is like that and arrogant, but they are not. But I am humbly marketing myself, and this is how. If you eat, but eat less sweets and fatty products, you will be savoring it more and long. So you will be keeping yourself healthy. You will be keeping yourself eating our products. And for generations, like you will be living for 80 years, 90 years, and you will be passing on this taste and culture of having our products to next 3-4 generations. So customer, not only I am targeting to retain my customer, but asking my customer to expand my customer area or zone to various generations. So this is the way I am going to teach you for eating less. Even I am not saying eating less. Eat enough. So you have to make portion size good enough to leisure it, have a pleasure of it, and you live healthy, you eat more. That is what I generally preach. So thank you for that question, because I wanted to answer or give that example sometime, but I was not finding that gap.
And there is a smile on Dr. Shalini's face as well. So she has also loved your answer. Thank you so much, Giriji.
My wife is postgraduate dietitian, but she is very good cook. So I'm keeping balance between my weight.
Absolutely, you're absolutely fit, and you're absolutely right. Also, Giriji, I have had the pleasure of knowing you and meeting you and knowing you very closely. You definitely don't resemble any of the stereotype Punekars. You're one of the most humble gentlemen that I have seen, and I have always been very impressed with your humanity and
don't
your
say
humbleness.
that. For marketing, I am typical Puneri, and I love to be. I am prideful to be Puneri. We Puneri are not like that. What
exactly.
perception is.
Perception is.
Exactly. We stand for that perception. It is good for us.
That's true. That's true. So before I hand it over to Nandu for a quick vote of thanks, there are a couple of business leaders, Asia Pacific business leaders from the plastic and polymer industry. They have expressed their deep thank you to you, not because you are trying to promote plastic. What they said is that your answer on the plastics was very well balanced. And the fact that you put nature, environment, and human element all together is something they're very, very exceptionally thankful and grateful to you. With those words, let me hand it over to our friend and a Jagamitra, Nandakumar Dhekne, to give his vote of thanks. Nandu, over to you.
Thank you, Amit. Thank you, Brad. I think this was another insightful session. I expected it to be very insightful, and I did meet all the expectations. But before I conclude, I just had two questions I saw quickly on the chat. Avinash asking from Netherlands. So productivity of Indian cattle, cows and all, is lower than most of the country's cattle. And why is it that? And what have you done to improve the productivity? Because you imported, quarantined some bulls 2 years back. I'd read about it. How is it? How is it going? And how are you able to come to the benchmark levels that you have in your mind?
While giving the answer to it, most of the people sitting in China, probably I have heard a news any Chinese app will cut to a list of words. Like if you say something Pakistan, something Corona, they will cut it. I don't know whether it is true or not, but still, for Indian people, it is very good to give the example of Pakistan to compare ourselves. Why we compare it, I don't know. We just compare ourselves with China as well. So there are so many things that we want to compare ourselves. Is good or bad, I don't know, but it is there. So I want to compare not present Pakistan, because I don't have that present figure of Pakistan right now, but definitely 5-10 years back, the productivity of animals in Pakistan is higher than India. So it is like if we are in India, per cattle, we are around 3 to 4 liters per day. Pakistan is around 6 to 7 liters, almost 75 to 100% more. Why? Because they, in the partition, they had one of the best natural resources in India available as their part of the country. But definitely that cannot be a reason after 75 years. Bangladesh and Pakistan is one of the most resourceful areas in the world per se, when it comes to aggregate the natural resources for human beings to consume. India has lagged behind in its policy in considering huge population, and they have kind of, I can say, it is not my allegation per se, but it is kind of a mistake when you see in the history. It cannot be allegation of some politician or policymaker right now sitting after 75 years. That because we have a large expanded country, huge population to cater with, and huge challenges to do away with, we kind of had the policy of having equal to all, and doing that was something very different level. Nothing bad in everything for all, but what we did was whatever we had, we shared it equally, and that reduced our policymakers to make everything as a policy. Heart of the policy becomes a marginal focus. So if 5 is there, you are giving it to 5, so each one is getting 1 is good philosophy for everyone. But who 5? Corona has given us insight that when there are less number of masks or ventilators available, they have to choose between whom to make survive. They are trying to, they are just ignoring the elder people. That cannot be a human, but they have to. But again, as a policy, you have to take some hard decisions to empower those who can create more, so that everyone can get 2 instead of 1 sometime afterwards. That was kind of lagging in each policy in India for greater number of time, I think till 94, 96. Now, Indians are producing more for more of them. So we are multiplying those things, and in even the policy of cattle growing and everything, it was just to have that bull available for harvesting and farm work, and it was like having cow dung for flour to have flour clean, and milk to survive ourselves. But that doesn't have seen that the milk is a business. What my grandfather started with was, you create excess milk and sell it as a commodity. When 1939, our culture was saying that selling milk is not holy. So he created awareness that selling milk is not holy if you are depriving your own family. First, have yourself, and excess you sell. So it's a trade, pure trade, that has to be taught to the farmers, and that was taught by my grandfather in 1939 to these farmers. And then come to the productivity. Even today, if we say a biggest Indian dairy has, say, 17 millions of liters per day as their procurement, they have around 7 million farmers connected to them. I'm not talking about the per cattle. I am talking about the per farmer productivity. So if you divide liters per farmer, is coming around 2.5 liters per farmer. China has started farming for milk in say late 90s.
90s, yeah.
They are number 4 in world. We are number 1, but they are number 4 in 20 years. And what is the productivity over there? So we haven't seen that as a business. Now we are seeing it as a business. Unfortunately, why I'm saying it is unfortunate? Because it is a shocking figure that 35% of our total GDP as a consumption GDP, Indians consume food. Indians spends 35% of their spending on food. And out of that 14% is milk and milk products. Single-handedly, one milk and milk product surpasses any consumption in India. Automobile, mobile or whatever, IT or whatever. As a consumption, I'm not selling. So we have to deal with this, and we are dealing with it. So increase the productivity. We targeted farmer education program, wherein we started at our own survey. It was like 5 to 6 liters per family. We are now at 20 liters per family.
Wow.
So we are starting educating the farmer. Then we infuse the various technologies like ultrasound to detect the early pregnancy, so that their 2 months of dry period is reduced. So we are taking various technologies to the farmer level and try to have more productive farming for animals. Then now we are focusing, this is basic management of farming. Then we are focusing on breed itself. So so if it is not into the seed, how it is going to grow. So even Tukanama has said, Shuddha Bijapoti Rasa Phale Rasada Gomati. So until you have good seed, you cannot produce good fruit. So we are now focusing last 15 years on genetics. It is not genetic modification, but it is more of a selection. And those selection methods we are adopting from Western people and making it more available for Indian genetics as well as Western genetics. So we are trying to create genetically improved breeding program and productivity to the farmer level. So that is how we are going to, multiply the productivity.
Thank you, Girish. That was a great answer. And I think there's so many other questions, but maybe we allow to handle it some other time.
I have to explain it a little longer.
Yeah, with respect of time, I'd like to conclude it very quickly now, because this was very impressive. What I noticed is Chitale as an organization is very experienced and has a lot of young talent people like you. It's a 4th generation that is managing Chitale. I think this is something I'm really amazed. And this is a very, very prospective unicorn based on what maybe I think Subodh and others said, and somebody commented from Singapore, and maybe Purnima is there as well. So this is a great prospect for a unicorn. And what I've seen, the next generation, the people like you who have come in, even Indrani, there are 5 people from this group who visited your facility, and I've got extremely positive and very favorable response from them. And they wanted to share a few things of music that you play in the company and all that. So this group one day will plan a trip when your visual, the gallery will be ready after the COVID. So we will like to do that. But your next generation that we see is bringing extremely new ideas, great ideas and innovation, and helping new technology, which that is really building trust with Chitale. And what has not changed, I've noticed from all that you talked, you people are like a blotting paper. You all learn like a blotting paper, and you are still, you are like Punekars, because you don't market yourself as aggressively as companies like Yili and Mengyu in China do, because I visited both these plants and have seen them and how they have grown. China traditionally did not drink milk, but they changed and they rapidly grew so much. I think in every area, but even in milk, they grew so fast. I think that's an amazing story, which most of our people from the group will like to share when they meet you. And I think what has not changed in you, and I really respect you for that, Chitale Group, and I think this is something that we should pride in. That ethics, core values, and principles have not changed, despite the fact it's the 4th generation. Most of you all live in nuclear families, I know, because I am from Pune. I know the people live in nuclear families, but all your family issues, whether they are personal or business, they get settled in a closed door. You all come together and you remain together. It is a great learning for most of the people here, because this is something, and I think you should continue with this. This is an amazing story. I'm not going to talk about all the great things that you talked about, what you're doing in plastic. That was excellent story you talked about. Then semi-automatic, where emotions are important. You know, I think it's right. And you talked about supply chain. You know, how you I play golf, so I know how you drive the ball is not more important. How you arrive. I think you arrive so well. I think when you get a Chitale product, I think you always get impressed with what they do. I think you talked about the loyalty. I think you have more loyalty to the customers, there's customers being loyal to you. I think that's amazing. And ketchup, I think you use that opportunity so wisely during the COVID period. I think that is something I liked it again. Bell and your cheese yogurt and Pancharatna and our famous dietitian talking about functional products coming in. You're already, those things are in the pipeline. So we were happy to have you here with us. I think, thank you everybody, especially Amit, Brad, and our friend Samir, and the entire Vishwamanthan group who was so enthusiastic. We are more than 100 now, I think. I think it's a great response. We don't have much time, but I think Chitale Group continues to be a role model for all the budding entrepreneurs. You've done a lot in Bhilwadi, I know. I think you're supporting young entrepreneurs. Some of the young entrepreneurs from this group might approach you to seek your guidance, because that will always help. And it's a really inspiring and exemplary story of Chitale's, and this story will continue. With that conclusion, I just want all the group members to join hands in complimenting you and giving a big applause. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Vishwamanthan.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We'll be in touch.
Absolutely, Girish.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful day, Girishji, and please once again birthday wishes to your better half from all of us.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Girish. Please wish Many from our side. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.